reminders, and I don't really think it's this class, but stay awake while I'm teaching, the whole class, stay awake. We can't sleep during class, okay? Keep laptops closed while I'm teaching. Of course, you can get them out to look at keys and stuff if you need to afterwards, and you guys know about phones. This is not an issue for you guys. Monday's that work day, don't forget. Great day to get any questions answered, homework's done, so probably best to have your laptop so you can get on Canvas for anything. And I'll just be walking around and helping. Today is short notes. You'll probably finish your homework on class. All right. So listen, what we did yesterday was we took 2 points. Well, there were a couple things, but one of the big concepts yesterday was take 2 points and make 2 equations out of them and simplify one, plug it into the other. It was a lot of work, right? And there was some fancy calculator stuff. We're going to be doing most of the same thing today, but on our graphing calculator. You're going to like it. It's much faster, much easier. And so the steps are here, but you probably won't need the steps. You've already learned how to do this, so I think it's going to come back to you pretty quickly. But if you do need the steps, they're here. They're also, and if you think you might need the steps, change number 6. That's how you store. There's more than one way of storing, by the way. The way we use in here is this, and so that we're all doing it the same way. I just am changing her way that she has it done. But I also gave you a pink sheet that has all of these steps. And it's got like the screenshots next to it, so when you do this step, what your screen should look like. So you've already done, you already have all this, and I think once I show you how to do it, you're going to remember all of the steps. I mean, I'm not going to go through them, I'm just going to do them with you, okay? So let's look at example 7. We have use a graphing calculator to find the exponential equation that includes these 2 points, okay? So what I want you guys to do is clear your RAM. And listen, we've talked about this a lot. We need to be interacting with our calculator. When I'm doing this with you, I want you to do it with me too. When you get to the homework, don't just copy my key, because there's really no work to show today. It's really all calculator work, I think, on every single problem. So you could easily copy all my answers and get a 4 out of 4 if this was checked on homework. But if you don't know how to do it here by yourself, you won't be able to know how to do it on a test day. Okay, and remember, I'm not helping. I can't help you on test or the AP exam. I'm not even going to be with you on your AP exam. And don't think that any of those other teachers know how to use these calculators, even if they could help you, okay? So you have to know how to use these calculators. Okay, clear the RAM is always the first step. Remember when you thought you'd never remember how to do that, and now you guys do it without thinking. Let's now go to how we put this in the calculator. In this class, especially lately, we've been in y equals quite a bit, right? We hit y equals and we type some stuff in, and we still use that all the time. That's where we go if we have the equation. Like if I have an equation, I want you to graph it, look at the table, intersection, all that, that's where we go. But if we have ordered pairs or a table of values, so in other words, points, we go to stat enter. Remember this? Stat enter. List 1 is your x values, list 2 is your y values. There's only 2. We have 3, enter, 7, enter. Those are my x values. You should have your calculator in your hand doing this. Then you go over to your y values, 18.2, enter, 94.7, enter. Sometimes you have a huge list of numbers, right, in a table of values. Here we just have 2 points, nice and easy, okay? So everybody have that typed in? Good? Then you're going to go to Stat, again, where we started, over to Calc. And we've been in this menu before when we've done lines, we've done quadratics, I think we've done cubics. What we want is exponential. Remember, we're writing an exponential equation. That's this. Okay? So where is exponential equation? Well, it's not on this screen. You have to either arrow down to it, or you can just hit the number next to it, which is 0. So 0 is exponential regression, okay? So when I'm in Stat Calc, I can just hit the 0 button and it takes me right to it. And I know I hit the right button because it should say it up here. EXP means exponential, okay? And then remember, we're going to just keep hitting enter until we get to the store enter, enter, enter. And that's where we're going to put the alpha trace enter. This is the step a lot of you forgot on the test, okay? So keep doing it every time you do these problems. Alpha trace, and then enter is where I'm going to save it. I'm saving it on y sub 1. That's what is highlighted, so I'm going to hit enter there, okay? And then keep hitting enter until you get to that page. Look. What'd you say? You can do it on any of them that you want. It really doesn't matter. The reason I say, guys, understand, I do alpha trace enter because y sub 1 is already highlighted. I just hit enter, okay? But if you wanted to change it to y sub 2 or something else, or we've done it before where you have more than one equation in there, so you already have something saved in y sub 1, so you might change it to y sub 2, so you have 2 equations in there. That doesn't really matter. But alpha trace enter is typically what we use just because it's fast. All right, and that will get you, so you can see the model, y equals a times b to the f. That's what we want it to be, and it gives you the a value and the b value. I would almost say this whole assignment is about rounding, okay? Remember, rounding matters in this class. We have to know how to round correctly. Let's not lose points on a test or the AP exam because we rounded incorrectly when we do it almost every day in here. So start figuring out what might I be doing wrong? How do I get some help if I'm rounding incorrectly? If your second or third digit is 0, or any of them are 0, you can leave them off or put them on there. So if I put 0.51, that's full credit, or 0.510 would be full credit. Either one, it doesn't matter, okay? There's my exponential equation. Much faster, right? And it says to sketch the graph, okay? So here is those 2 points, and we just found the equation, the exponential function that goes through both points. So just a quick sketch of the graph, acknowledging that there's an asymptote there. Okay, we did that. It says to label the y-intercept. Don't forget what you already know. This is your y-intercept. A is your y-intercept. So it's approximately right there at 0, 5.283. That number right there. So far, so good? Last thing, and this is another really important concept in this class. Oftentimes, we mess with an equation and then we are asked questions related to that equation. And so what this is saying is, find the value of x when y is 50, right? F of x is just y. So think about it. It should make sense. There's one of 2 things we end up having to do. We can either plug in sometimes or we have to do the intersection. How do you know which one? Well, think about it. Don't memorize. If I plug a 50 in, if I just plug in, how do I solve for x? You can try it, but you're not going to be able to do it until we learn how to do logs. So right now, there's no way for me to solve for an exponent given that y. That's when I know this is when I have to use my intersection, okay? And we'll see the other type in a second. So remember, we saved this equation under y sub 1. So when I go to y sub 1, there it is, because I saved it there. Remy, if you saved it at y sub 2, it's in your y sub 2. It's no different. It doesn't matter where you put it. So find an empty spot. For me, it's y sub 2. It might be y sub 1 for Remy, because she might have put this in y sub 2. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what order these are in. And what am I going to put in here? 50. I want a horizontal line. Look. I want this, which is y equals 50. That's why I put in y equals 50. I want to know what is that x value. X equals what when y is 50? And we use intersection for that, okay? So that's when I put in my y equals 50, and I have to hit graph. And you give it a second to do its thing. And oftentimes, we have to adjust our window, okay? And I'll admit, as a math teacher even, knowing how to do this stuff, sometimes I have a moment of panic. Like, wait, did I do something wrong? Because where's my y equals 50? And then I take a breath, and I remember that my calculator, when I clear my RAM, remember, it's only going as high as what? What's the highest number on the screen? 10. And I told it to go up to 50. So of course it's not here. I need to change my window by hitting window. And we need to know how to manipulate these numbers. Remember, x-axis, min is to the left, right is max, right? Min to the left, max to the right. Negative numbers, positive numbers. You can see it right there. But we want to change the y-axis up, right? We want to go up. What do we put it on? Well, at least 50, and we want to be able to see enough of it. So be aggressive, or don't. Choose. Put 67.5 because that's your favorite number. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I just put 100, and I might have to go back and change it. It might not be enough, right? Who knows? So you might have to go back and forth and change it a few times. Don't be upset about that. You'll get better at it the more you interact with your calculator. As long as I see the intersection, I'm going to stop messing with my window, right? So now I go to intersection, which is under calc. You've got to know where these buttons are. You can't raise your hand during a test and say, where's calc? That's why we do this a lot in class. So then I'm going to hit 5, right? Number 5 is intersect. And almost always, it gives me a place that I can just hit enter. But see where your cursor is? So I'm going to start using my right arrow button. I want to prove to you, it doesn't matter. I can hit enter here, here, here. Any of these points are fine. But remember, we talked about this yesterday. We can have a huge, wide range of space between this point and the intersection. So wherever you want to hit enter, okay? You can get closer, get further away, enter. Now, it always jumps to the horizontal line, and I like to go on the other side of it. I actually don't even know. I might have been able to hit enter where it was and get the right answer, but because there are certain problems where we have to be on the left and the right of it, I just keep doing that every single time. I just make sure I'm on either side of whatever I'm talking about. Min, max, zero, intersection. Find a spot that you're happy with and hit enter. So by hitting enter in those two spots, it told the calculator these are the two places, and somewhere in between, we're going to ask it what the intersection is. And it's so smart that it'll find it for us. So yes, are you ready? And I say, yes, I want you to guess. And then it'll show you. Look at the very bottom. It even says you have an intersection at x is 5 point blah, 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 comma, 50. Y is 50. It tells you. That's an ordered pair. Now we know y is 50 at x is approximately 5.451. That 9 tells the 0 to go up to 1. Okay? I'm not going to go through all of this nonsense about natural base E. What I'm going to talk to you about, though, real quick, and we'll go more into it in the homework, is E is a button on your calculator, and E is built into lots of formulas in our word problem. So we're going to do one in a second, okay? And there's one that we have to know by heart that we're going to add to our formula sheet in a minute. You don't have to write it here because we're going to put it on our formula sheet. But this is a really famous word problem that's got E in it, and it's called the PERT formula. We use it whenever something is talking about compounding continuously. There's none in the notes for me to do with you, so we're going to do number 5 in the homework, and at that time I will explain this formula better, and we'll update the formula sheet and do a problem with it. But I will tell you that button E is right above the LN. LN stands for natural log, but right above it you'll see the e to the x, and I will come back to that, okay? So skip all of this, but we do have one final question in our notes. I told you it was short, and that's example 9. And just looking ahead at example 9, see that E in there? I'm going to show you how to manipulate this word problem with that letter E. It's a number, but it's a button on your calculator. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. We inevitably have to deal with word problems in math, right? It's a part of it. We don't like it, but we have to. A lot of them are very sciencey. You know, science and math really go hand in hand. And I'm not a science person at all right? I'm a math person. I have to train myself to kind of decipher, like kind of weed through all that science terminology and pull out the numbers and what they represent. And then it's my job as the math person, our job, to plug it in there and get the right math. And then we let the science people kind of interpret it, okay? But this is what I mean. Like, there's some work, like, what are they talking about? Blah, blah, blah. But let me show you what I focus on when I read these. The atmospheric pressure, P. Now, I know variables are important in my job, right, in our math job. Variables mean something. I just learned atmospheric pressure is going to be represented by the letter P. That's important, okay? On a commercial airline, decreases as the plane height increases. The pressure is measured in blah, 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 okay, and is related to the height h. I'm going to need to know that. Height means h. common sense, right? But sometimes the letter doesn't match the word perfectly. In kilometers above sea level, the relationship can be modeled by this function. Okay, so they gave us the equation, and they're going to ask us some questions about it, okay? So P of H, that's my atmospheric pressure. H is height. And there's another letter in there, but it's not a variable. That's a button on your calculator. It's actually a number, okay? So here's the question. What is the atmospheric pressure at a height of 4.5? What is the pressure when the height is 4.5? Right? That's what they're giving us. Is P of H the X or the Y? You know this. The Y, right? That's Y. This is like your Y. So this is like your X. Don't let it confuse you that I wrote it backwards. If I have X and I need Y, is that intersection or can I just plug it in? Look at it. Can I just plug 4.5 in right here? Yes, that's a plug-in problem. I don't have to use that thing. So go to your main screen and let's type this in, okay? So 760. And where that E button is, everybody, above the natural log, second, and then hit that button. See how it has e to the power of x? That's wonderful, because look what it does. It puts your cursor right there, ready for you to type in what you have to type in, which is negative 0.145h, which means times h is 4.5. E is above ln. Okay? And that's it. Hit enter and round it correctly. So the atmospheric pressure would be about 395.764. And let's label it correctly. I usually don't know at this moment what it is. I usually have to go back up into my word problem. What are we measuring? Oh yeah, okay. Whatever this is, that's what that is. The pressure is measured in blah, blah, blah. That's the blah, blah, blah. Okay? So part B, find the pressure. That's what it's asking when the height is 10. Again, they gave us height. They want us to find the pressure. They gave us X. They want us to find Y. We can easily just plug 10 in. So it's the same type of problem. Change your H. So try it again. 760. E. Now, a lot of these problems have lots of decimal places. There's one that the exponent has like 0.000, like 4 zeros or something. Be careful when you type it in. The number one mistake I find that students make when they come around, they're like, I'm doing what you said and I'm getting the wrong answer, is they typed that in wrong right there, okay? They might have missed a decimal place or something. Times 10, enter. What did I do? I did. Go to, oh, thank you. So let me delete that. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for catching that. Enter. And then we get approximately 178.273 mmHgs. Okay? Don't let these word problems scare you. They throw lots of big words at us. We just train ourselves to decipher. I mean, maybe you're a sciencey person and you're into it. Great. That's wonderful. But if you're not, like me, it's easy to kind of wade through it and pull out what we need. And that's what we need to be able to do. Good? Okay. What I want you to do is write the homework assignment down. And I'm going to do number 1 and number 8 with you. And we will be updating our formula sheets when we get to number 8, so just be ready for that. Okay, are we good? We ready? Number 1, use a graphing calculator to find the exponential equation, and then state the y-intercept. So yesterday we had these same directions, except don't use a graphing calculator. Remember, we had to make the 2 equations and solve for one, plug it in the other, blah, blah, blah. Now we are going to use our calculator. Clear your RAM. And if you're putting in points, that's when you go to stat, enter. You got to know that. So 2, enter, 5, enter. Over to the y. If you're not doing this with me, you must be an expert on this stuff, which is fine, but hopefully you are knowing how to do this on your own. I see people not doing it. All right, then what do I go to? How do I get to calc? Careful, we're not using this calc. That's when we're on the graph, okay? We want stat calc. Someone had said the other one. Okay, so go back to stat. Remember, we were just in edit, right? We put those in. So we hit stat again over to this calc. The other calc is when we're dealing with the graph. We're not in the graph right now. And remember, we're doing exponential, which is 0, or you can just keep arrowing till you find it. Enter, 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 alpha, trace, enter. We don't really need to store it for this problem. All we need is this. You don't have to store for this, but I want you guys to be in the habit. It takes 2 seconds for you guys to type those in, and that way it's there if you need it, and you'll always know how to do it. There it is. Y equals 6.759 times 1.954 to the x. What's the y-intercept? Got it. Good. Don't forget what you already know. The y-intercept is staring at you. It's A. That's a 9. I got excited. Okay? All right. Hold on the other ones. Go to number 8 with me. Go to number 8, number 5, not 8. Number 5, we're going to do one of those PERT problems. So get out your formula sheet. That PERT formula I mentioned, you might remember it from Algebra 2, okay? It is a very specific type of word problem that you will know that you're going to use this formula if it says in the directions something about compounding continuously. It will always, 100% of the time, say compounding continuously when you have to use this formula. So you need to put those two ideas together. So you hear compounding continuously, you go PERT. And what the variables mean are pretty simple. That number after the equal sign is always your initial amount. Why are they calling it P? Well, because it's called principal in money. It's what money you start with, the initial amount. Grandma gives you a $500 check for your birthday and you want to invest it into a savings account or something that compounds continuously. That's your principal. That's what you're starting with, $500, okay? E is that button on your calculator. R is always a percent. R means rate. It's always a percent, and we always have to change it to a decimal, 100% of the time in all word problems, okay? And T is time. So number 5 is one of these problems. So let's read it. And, you know, word problems are a pain. They're not always super straightforward. Sometimes you have to really read them carefully, and I'm going to point that out to you. We had one yesterday that was a little funky. All right, so let's look at number 5. Done writing this? Anybody's still writing on their pink sheet? Got it, Jaden? You done? Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 5. Claire is planning to attend the University of Florida. I'm going to start underlining things that I think are important. She needs to save $9,000 in 4 years. How much would Claire need to put into her money market account that has been earning 9.75% annual interest? There she is. I see that. I go, oh, I know that formula. That's the PERT formula. Okay, so she needs to save $9,000. I'm going to come back to that. Time, that's pretty easy, right? 4 years, it would be my T. She said, that's me, she said percent is always my rate. Now change it to a decimal. All you have to do is move your decimal point 2 places to the left. If that's difficult for you, divide it by 100. You divide that by 100 or move the decimal point 2 places, you would get that. And then we have one more number, right? We have 9,000. What is that? So, which one? P. Is it P? It's actually not. It's actually the amount she wants in her account. So this, let's read that first sentence again, or second sentence. She needs to save 9,000. How much does she need to put into it to get to that? All right. So she's going to college in 4 years. She knows that she's got to have 9,000. I need to have $9,000. How much, if I go put my money into this account, what do I have to start with to be able to get to 9,000? That's kind of tricky, right? You have to really read it carefully. So let's plug those numbers in. And believe it or not, this is a one-step equation. One step. We got e's and decimals and exponents and big numbers, but it's really only one step. When you see two letters next to each other, you all know that that means multiplication, right? This is p times e to the blah, blah, blah. Opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by whatever that is. And just put this in my calculator. Because then that will cancel and I'll have p equals whatever I get when I do that. So that's 9,000 divided by, get that e, you know where e is now, second ln, 0.0975 times 4. Enter. There it is. She will have to start with invest, put that much money in so that she can have $9,000 in 4 years. Okay? Another way it could have been worded is, if I have this much money, how much will I have in 4 years? That's when these numbers would switch. I typed this literally in my calculator. 9,000 divided by e to the power of all that. Do you see that one? Okay. Number 6 is another PERT problem. Okay, I'm not going to do it with you, but I want to point something out. You got to read carefully. He deposited half of his money. He deposited half. So his principal is 600, not 1,200. I'm going to put the key up. The key is also on Canvas if it's hard for you to see. So if you want to look at Canvas, I put the key on early for you guys. So let me put the whole key up for you. And then anything you have a question about, I will come around and help. Today or Monday. Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Garbage. Need to keep that. And that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll email her. All right. Thanks. I'll come around in just a second. Let me just turn my recording off here.